Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel, All for Art. So today we're going to be talking about understanding light sources and depth through the use of a bowl. And again, this is part of a 3-part series, and this is the finale. So the other 2 parts were exploring complex shapes through simple forms and understanding perspectives. So this video builds off of those concepts, so I highly recommend you watch them before watching this video. They're linked in the description below. So today, all you're gonna need is a pencil, an eraser, and a piece of paper or a sketchbook like always. So if you're ready, let's get into it. Alright, so since our focus is on light sourcing and depth for this video, we gotta have a light source. So I've turned on my lamp, and we're gonna be using that to reference the bowl. So basically, what I want you to get out of this video is how to identify or how to create a point of light source in your drawings and how to draw and shade according to that. And when you have an accurate light source and you're doing the shadows and the light accurately, then you're getting a sense of depth in your drawings that you wouldn't get otherwise, because really it's the light and shadows that give us the depth. So when we're talking about this, we're going to use the bowl again, right? So here's my bowl, and I have my lamp coming into like this way. So say we just go like this, all right, and we want to draw this. So this would be more of a, on this diagram, this is the perspective that we're kind of going for. And here, so we have to pay attention to the shadows. Oh, excuse me. So basically what we're doing here is we have like our big shadow is here, right? So this part of the bowl is casting the shadow here. I don't know, move hands so I'm not covering up the shadow. And then here we're also getting a shadow just because the light source is hitting directly here and it's hitting directly here. We're having a shadow here. But that doesn't mean it's as dark as this one. This one is the emphasized shadow, and this one is just a shadow by virtue of the light source not directly hitting it. And these shadows, like having the shadows come around, is really important for depth. And I wanted to use a bowl for this one because a bowl is circular. So, you know, you're having multiple planes of depth on here, and you have to draw that it's like circling back around. You have to create that illusion in your drawing. So by doing that, I also want you to notice some other things. So this right here, if you see this lighter area, that's what we call a rim light, and you'll kind of see it on the edges of your darks. You can see it here mostly. Because here the light from the table is bouncing up onto the very dark part of the edge, and this gives it depth and it makes it look, if you include it in your drawings, it makes this look circular, so it gives us that sense. So that's something to watch out for. And then I also want you guys to notice that right here is where the light is hitting it directly. So this is where we have our pure highlight, which is pure white. So yeah, just things to keep in mind with that. So I'm gonna start drawing, and yeah. Okay, so I've drawn out our bowl, which of course I use the simple forms technique. I thought about perspective, you know, we're going for somewhere in between here and here, more so here, but I did want to make this a little bit larger just so we could really talk about the shadows. So anyways, you know, again, the bowl is something like this. But yeah, so what I also did was I drew in the light source. This is where my lamp is coming down. And yeah, so what we're gonna do is first we're gonna identify the point of pure highlight. So when you look at the bowl, right, this is, it's like around here. And you can't see when I cover it with my hands. It's around here. So that's kind of what we're gonna be going for. Actually, I do wanna adjust this. Okay, so here is essentially where our main point of a highlight is going to be. And if you notice there, our shadow has this like slanted figure, and it's coming up from essentially what's the bottom here, and it's coming up to this area. So we're going to draw that in as well. so this is where our main shadow is going to be, and I think it might be a little bit smaller just because our perspective changes a little each time. But yes, so that's essentially where our main shadow, our super dark shadow, is going to be. And of course it's going to be darker in this area, and it's going to get a little bit lighter as we come out here. But yeah, that's basically what's going to happen. And then here you can also see that we have, again, our shadow over here, which is just from lack of light source. So there you go. This is also where we're going to have some shadow. And then it does get light here, but we just don't have a sense of pure light. Like, the light is not, the actual light bulb is not reflecting anywhere here. It's here, right? So yeah, and then don't forget about rim light, which I'm just gonna put in right here just so we don't forget it. But basically, I have shading tutorials already on my page, which again, I will link below, and it's my first video ever, and I talk about how to shade, and I do also go over light source, which I kind of am recapping here. But yeah, basically, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go super dark here, and because I already have those videos, I'm not gonna go super in-depth on how to shade. Just a few reminders that we're always gonna be shading with the side of our pencil, right? And pressure is key. So the amount of pressure you're applying depends on how hard you get. So for this really dark shadow, you're gonna be applying a lot of pressure. And then as you wanna get lighter, you apply less. And also make sure that you're being mindful of blending. So right now, since we're still in like the very dark areas, we don't really need to blend yet. But okay, see here, we're getting a little bit lighter. I'm getting a little bit lighter as I'm approaching this line, right? See, and I want it to blend seamlessly, so I'm applying light pressure, and I'm getting a little bit darker here, right? Because I want it to be cohesive. You know, it's not like this is dark and then this is light, right? No, it's like the whole thing is an ombre. There's not any hard lines, and that's the other thing about drawing, which I've definitely mentioned before, but drawing is all shadows and light. There's no actual lines, right? So even here, like this isn't a line. This is shaded back here because this is light. This is shaded back here. So it's not like we just have a hard line. So yeah, I'm just gonna shade around, and here as my dark shadow is coming to an end, and it's just getting a lot lighter here. And then remember, it does get a little bit darker around these edges, so be mindful of that when you're shading. And remember, the only point of pure white highlight we're getting is what I already have outlined. So when you're shading around, make sure that you're shading up to that, and then we'll blend it in later. Okay, so I'm gonna come back with this top part shaded, and we'll talk about the next part. Okay, I'm back. So I just spent a few minutes shading this, and of course it's not refined, it's not a finished product, but this is essentially what I want you to get. I want you to see that we have this very dark shadow, and this is the darkest point besides the shadow on our piece, which also we would add here. As such, which I'm sorry, I forgot to mention originally, but yes, the shadow is important for grounding, right? Because this isn't just a floating object. Let me add our table in the back. Yes. Oh my god, it's a slanted table. Okay, so basically what I want you to get out of this though is that we have our darkest point here and then our shadow here. And then here you'll notice that with the highlight, it's the only place of pure white that I used. And you might be wondering, how did I get this really smooth effect on the shading? Basically all I did was I used my finger. I have this in my first drawing tutorial, but you shade, use your finger to smooth it out. You can use a tissue too if you don't want to get your fingers all gross with the charcoal or graphite. I totally get that. So either way, it's not necessary though, and you can totally just shade without it. this just helps me with blending. So yeah, that's what I did here. And here you would follow a similar procedure. So define this a little bit better. And then here. Go here, and then you'll kind of notice that you have this like piece of light-ish. Here it's actually dark, but you know, here it's a lot lighter, and it's like the rim, of course, which is following the bowl. So you put in your rim, which is kind of along here, and here I'd erase out for the rim. Oh, my eraser's not good for this. I have a lot of lead on this paper. So yeah, I mean, you get the point though. Like, you have this rim, which is obviously catching the light from here, which is why this part is highlighted while this part gets dark. So, you know what, this is not by any means the best rim ever, but it's going to work for our purposes. Right. Oh my god, this is bothering me. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, so it's a little bit lopsided, but it's okay, because, again, it works for our purposes. So yeah, basically what it is here, you're getting that value in. It's just, again, it's nowhere near as dark as the rim is getting, and it's of course nowhere near as dark as this is. Right, and of course it does get a little bit darker near the bottom, right? We have to show that depth and that perspective, and a little bit darker near this edge. And then remember, we have rim light, so we can erase it out at the end, but basically the rim light is going to be like in this area. So you'd have that, and then just gradually it's going to get a little bit lighter. It's going to get a little bit lighter as you get here, because here is where the light source is. The light source is giving this area light. So, right, we're just going to do something quick like that. And then here it would be a little bit lighter. And remember, this is the only place where we're getting pure white. So while here it's going to still be very light, again, it's not pure white, because that is reserved for this highlight only. Again, this is why sometimes it does help to work on toned paper already, which is like gray paper or brown paper, or some people, when using charcoal, they like put down a layer of charcoal for the medium, so that your only area of highlight, you don't have to shade everything else, because, you know, your only area of highlight, or your few areas of highlight, are whatever, white in the first place, which is hard, you know, because then everything else needs to be shaded in. But yeah, we make do with what we have. So yeah, here, and then here you'd still be getting a little bit of light. You know, near the bottom, of course, you're still getting a little bit, just because you know that it's coming down. It's depth. Right, so I'm most likely not going to finish this up, just because, you know, you get the general concept at this point. And remember, like, again, this area isn't a line, it's like a gradient here. And then the thing about the rim light is where the shadow is, that's where the rim light is. So here, if I had our shadow in, and of course it's going as dark as this is, so I'll just put a little bit of it in. Okay, so now that we have a little bit of a shadow in, see, the rim line is already kind of being developed for us. Oh, this eraser is dying. Okay. Here, like that. And this is just showing, again, the light bouncing off of the table, you know, and you see it, again, you see it on the bowl. It's here. even though, you know, since it's not on the table, actually, it's not having a shadow. But yeah, again, this is where the light is bouncing off, so it's super important for developing depth and perspective. So yeah, honestly, I think that's the main points of this video. So, you know, I just really want you to take away from this video, first off, you have to understand where your light source is, because for most of your drawings, most of your paintings, you're gonna be having a singular light source, maybe two, it just depends, and all of your objects, depending on their position, at where they are in your painting, it's gonna be affected, and you know, your painting isn't gonna look like it has a proper sense of depth unless you can figure out how to shade so that it's aligning with the light source. So yeah, just, you know, that's something really important for continuing to develop skills as an artist. And yeah, that's just what I wanted to bring attention to today. So I really hope you learned something from this video. And yeah, like, to finish this drawing up, all I would do is I would probably come up here, make this a little bit darker, like this background right here, you know, so here's our table. And of course, the object is grounded, you know, we could finish up the shadow, right? And the great thing about a shadow is that it's really pretty much the same value until the end, where it kind of feathers off a little bit, you know. So like here, instead of this hard line, I might just add a little bit of lighter shading to make it a bit less harsh. So yeah. Then again here, remember, that's not a line. This is going to be a little bit of shading going up. I'll blend it out with my finger if I want to. We can lightly erase some highlights, but remember, we're not getting this light. We're just doing a little bit, it still has to have a little bit of value on. So yeah, that's the gist of it. And of course, this is a rough sketch, it's not finished, but that is what I wanted to illustrate with light source, depth, perspective, parts of the drawing even, you know, rim light, that is so important. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something.